How's it going? Harvesting some worm castings today, and I thought I'd show you how we do it. I no longer sit down for hours on end pulling out individual worms. I tend to do it in bulk now, so I thought I'd show you the process from start to finish. And the start is right here. This is horse manure, and what I'm doing is screening it. Just running it through a screen to break it down a little bit finer. Just a lot easier for the worms to maneuver through this stuff than trying to get through big lumps of poo like this. So the actual screen itself is it's a compost screen I made up. It's just some 1/2 inch or about 12mm wire just stapled onto this little frame. It's just very basic, just screwed together, no fancy joints or gluing or anything like that, and it's been going now for a couple of years and done very well. So it's just a matter of rubbing this stuff through. I normally wear gloves, of course. Just a matter of rubbing this stuff through, breaking up these larger chunks, and yeah, it just falls through and collects in the wheelbarrow. So from here, all I do is just add this into an empty worm bed, and the worms will move into it, we'll throw feed on top, and away they go. So it's just a matter of digging out the castings. Now I'm not too worried about collecting worms and the like. I'm more than happy for the worms to actually seed the garden bed. What I like to do first is divide the bed. I feed one end and then I feed the other. So what I did round about Christmas time, well actually a bit earlier in December, about halfway through December, this end came out, all the castings in one lot, and I put in a fresh load of horse manure. All the food's been going on top, even some seed bags. These are the little cocoa peat bags, and the worms are just hoeing into this, so there's loads of them in here. This is all still blender food. I put all the food, there's a whole heap down in there. I put all the food through the food processor, make it nice and small, and just layer it on top. Bits and pieces from the garden like this cocoa peat pellet go in there as well, so more than happy. But what that means is all the worms from this end, I'll have a bit of a dig here. Not many worms at all, there's a few in there, but nowhere near as many as in the other end. So this end here is now pretty much all just castings, a couple of worms and some eggs. So that now will be harvested pretty much all down that line there. We'll go into these 4-gallon or 15-litre buckets and held for use in the garden. So there we go, the bathtub's nice and clear now, or that bottom half of it, and now it's just a matter of adding in the horse manure. So this is the stuff I showed you before that had been screened. So a full bag of sifted manure has now gone into here, and as you can see, it's rather high compared with the rest of the bed. So I'll just move it down a little bit. So there we go. That takes up about 2/3 of the bed. So all I do now is just wet this manure down a bit because it was pretty dry. It's been in that bag for a while. Just decided I'll put another 6 or so litres through, so that brings it up to about 4 gallons or 15 litres that have gone through here. So that'll do, and that should moisten up the manure enough to entice the worms into it. So as you can see, the level's dropped a fair bit, and it is just a little bit higher than the other end. So this stuff up here from the other end looks like it's pretty much will be ready in the next month or so. So probably around about May we should be able to harvest this lot here, and we'll just swap the feeding over to the other end here for the time being, and they'll keep working on what's left up that end. So I'm very impressed with the way these worms are turning all this stuff into food. So that's nice and moist down in there, so don't have to worry about that now. So I'll clean up, take the camera outside, and I'll show you the castings we got. So these are the castings we got from half the bathtub farm. As you can see, there's worms in here. So these worms will love it in the garden beds. We've found that the worms particularly like the wood mulch that we make from branches we mulch up and compost a little bit. You dig through them and you find loads of worms underneath. I think there's probably about 20 to 25 litres worth of castings here. So what I normally do is, I'll just move him so I don't squash him, and that one too. I normally grab about a handful, pretty much all like that, maybe a little bit more worth of castings, and I put that under each seedling we plant out. The rest of it will go top dressed on top of beds. Some of it may end up in a worm cast tea yet. We might percolate or brew up some worm cast tea, we'll see how we go. I actually don't plant the seedlings out in this stuff anymore, mainly because, I'll get a clean finger to show you, there are a lot of seeds through this stuff. So that looks like a capsicum or a chili seed. So if I plant chili seeds into this, I don't know exactly what I'm going to get. Same with tomato, gooseberries, eggplants. I've even had lettuce pop up out of this stuff here. So also getting a lot of cocoons in this as well. These cocoons will have a couple of worms in them, and they'll help bring up the population in the garden beds themselves. Very impressed with the harvest we've got from this. The castings themselves, you can have a look for yourself. Very nice. Doesn't look like horse manure whatsoever. They've broken it down nicely. There is still a few bits of organic matter and fibre in there, but you sort of want that in your garden bed. It gives the worms something to munch while they're in there. These castings here now will just stay in these buckets. I'll pop lids on top of them and they'll be underneath the house. They'll be nice and moist in the buckets, and because of all the organic matter that's still in there, they will have stuff to eat, so I'm not too concerned about that. I think they'll be rather happy. Just to finish up on the clip, I thought I'd wait a couple of days. It's now 3 days since I took the castings out and topped it up with horse manure, and as you can see, I've also put on a whole load of food for these worms. What this is the 2 Kakai pumpkins we had left to take the seeds out of and just to dry the seeds, and all the flesh I thought might as well go in here to feed the worms, so hopefully that'll entice them up to this end from the old feeding area. There's still a few bits of scraps and that down here, and there's still a lot of worm activity as well. Still a load of worms down in here, not as many as there was the other day. As you can see, there's most of the food from the other day's already gone. There's a few piles of greenish mess here, but still worms down here. So I thought I'd have a look at this stuff. This has been here for over 24 hours now. We'll have a bit of a dig around, and as you can see, we have worms up here. So that's towards the end of the bed. We'll have a look up here right at the end, see if any worms have made it. Yep, there's a worm there. Sorry matey, the worms have made it all the way up to the end of the bed, so they're happily moving in here. There's a whole load of them just down in here, just at the edge. So they're slowly moving their way from the old feeding area up to the new. So it's only been 3 days, it doesn't take them long. This stuff down in here is not quite ready to pull out yet. It's still a bit fibrous, so I'm going to leave it. We've found in the last light well you saw the other day, there were still worms left down that end that I harvested. So these worms will just mull around down here and keep eating up what's left. These larger scraps, when it comes time to harvest, they'll just be moved on top of the feeding area up here, and I might take a bit of a layer, like some of this stuff here might come off and get moved up there, just because there's worms under the surface, and then yeah, that load of castings there will come out. So hope you've liked that look at harvesting the castings and changing out the food for the worms. Thoroughly recommend these bathtub beds. They're working a lot better than any of the tiered raised beds we've done. I have enough of this framing to actually join another bathtub on the end there, but that will be another metal bathtub that's around my parents' place. We're just waiting for that to be delivered. I need a trailer to pick it up, and I'll be making this a 2-bay metal bath worm farm. This bathtub here may not join the worm farm family. It may be turned into a azalea or a duckweed farm for the aquaponics set. We'll just wait and see. And just to show you, that's not all, when it comes into focus, that's not all worm leachate. A lot of that is the water that was put through the system the other day, so it's still dripping through. That there will go out in the garden this weekend, so that will go with some molasses and be used to feed up the beds. I'll probably use about half a litre of this, 500 mils of this, in a 9 litre watering can. It's not particularly strong. There you go. Suppose that is it. I'll stop rabbiting on now. So any comments, questions, suggestions, just drop them in the comments section below and I'll get back to you. Other than that, have a great one and take it easy. Catch ya.